Now, here at Stargrind, what we believe in, I've got a few core values. We believe in, first and foremost, making friends, not connections. Spend a little more time, getting to know people, getting to know how you can help them, how they might be able to help you. And it's kind of what we believe is you give before you take, and you help others before you help yourself. Because with this whole ecosystem, we're all just trying to build great things. So we're super, super fortunate to have a fantastic Chris Stafford with us. So let's do a nice, warm starter grind welcome.
The idea is perhaps not worth nothing, but don't think of it as being worth more than 5% ever. You need to be bringing something to the table, and you need a good sense of the value of what you're bringing to the table. And if you don't know what you're bringing to the table, then find out before you start down the journey. As with most startup ideas, it maybe had some legs, but needed a lot of iteration. Mm-hmm. And so we were kind of looking at it going, do we carry on with this? How are we going to kind of radically change this to be an interesting idea?
Yeah, of course.
And actually at that time, Nigel came along with his own idea. Mm-hmm. And said, do my idea, guys, it's better. And we kind of looked at it and went, it's not wrong. So basically, we'd actually just got an agreement to do an angel funding round for Group It. And so we slightly tentatively went back to Kevin, our angel lead, and said, we'd still very much like your money, but we're not that inclined to go with the idea. And Kevin, very forward thinking, his immediate answer was, actually, I didn't think much of the idea either. And I was really investing in the team, which was kind of a vote of confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. How did you, whenever you're growing the team, put that in place to make sure there was somebody to mentor, to learn from?
I'm not going to pretend we were perfect at it. And to a large extent, I guess we probably didn't initially. We were quite lucky with our first couple of hires. Again, I think it harks back to launching into the middle of a financial crisis.
Yeah,
there were a few good people
unemployed,
kind of available and willing to go through a kind of actual interview process. So by the time we were trying to expand the pool of people, we got a couple of people on board. Obviously it helps that I was on the team, and I'm not going to say I'm the greatest tech genius in the world, but I'm not terrible. I've at least managed to convince people at interview that I am somebody they can learn something from.
Yes.
But what you do need to do is make sure that all your teams are configured with the right mix of new people and experience, and just encourage and motivate your senior people to want to mentor the junior people and give them advice and feedback, which not all senior people are. And so it's that kind of, you've got to make it part of their job. And as if they don't do that feedback, then great code, but you didn't actually do your job. And I'd like to think that we created an environment that people really like to stay in, and a lot of the people I'm still in touch with will say it was the happiest place they worked, or the most interesting place they worked. So I guess in that respect we were doing some things right. I would say in terms of money that if you are trying to win people over with money, you've kind of already lost. You've got to pay a fair wage, and at the end of the day, if you don't, people will go somewhere where they can do better for themselves. As a developer, yes, those chunks of uninterrupted time are valuable. I'm not convinced they're as valuable as perhaps they've become seen as.
Okay, interesting.
So if you go for a somewhat more recent view of it, there's the concept of flow, where things are much more measured on that kind of. People don't achieve anything if they're interrupted, and people come up with these models of a 5-minute interruption actually loses you an hour's time.
Yes.
And if you're really in the zone, sometimes that's kind of true, but actually most of the time it's bullshit. Had this concept of there was a hat, and you were allowed to wear your hat for a certain amount of the day, and when you were wearing the hat, nobody was allowed to interrupt you. And it was your quiet space to get on with some shit.
Okay.
And I like that, but what I like about that is, it's not kind of paying homage to, it's not worship of this concept. I think flow goes with a lot of notions that developers are these singular genius, is the smartest person in the room, and you've got to bow down or suck up to them or whatever. And I don't think that's a good relationship for anybody. So basically what I'm saying is, if I organise a stand-up, people are better bloody come to.
Is there any technologies that are really of interest to you, sectors, ideas? What do you think is exciting now, looking forward nearly to the next 5-10 years?
Well, I looked through my client list earlier on, trying to figure out what they'd approve of me saying. No, I mean, I think technology-wise, I wouldn't say I'm jaded, because I'm still excited by every new technology I see. I'm ridiculous. I'm in no sense a full stack developer, but I'll play badly with almost everything I can find. I think what interests me is kind of doing something useful. And I think it's a frustration that in a lot of ways the technology sector and startup sector is focused more and more on doing things that are not only not useful but probably actively bad. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to kind of hold your head up as a technologist and say, actually, we're the good guys. So it's that kind of, I don't want to be a disruptor, especially if as a company I've got a genuinely better way of doing something that is going to transform the space, then that's absolutely wonderful, and that will give people something new. But if my model is I'm going to swallow up the market and then ramp up prices, then
doesn't sit right. Yeah,
it's not cool.
Yeah.